Anyways, I've gone live. Um, so I know there's all these people that are running for president. I am trying to figure out a way to run myself for president because I think I would actually do a better job as president of the United States than Biden or Trump or any of the other people running on that Republican ticket or the one on the Democrat running on the Democratic ticket. Um, so, anyways, I don't know who's all going to watch this, which is probably nobody because hardly anybody watches my lives, anyways. So it's just basically me making a video to chat. You know. But, it's one of those things where you've got Biden who's getting too old. You've got Trump who's too old because he's 77, maybe 78. Do you really want any other old farts in office? Come on, I'm 41. I'll be 42 this month. Um, I can do better running the country and make the country better. It's just the way it is. We need to get all the old farts out. We need to get all these BS agendas out of all that stuff. And major corporations do need to pay their fair share in taxes. We need to make taxes fair and everybody. Cut taxes for the low income people. Cut taxes for working families. And maybe instead of doing 10% tax on base on stuff like that, why don't we do 5% or even like mm, yeah, probably about 5% tax. 5% would be better because one, it's less taxes that come out of your check. Two, more money stays in your pocket. And three, we charge more to the corporations and the ultra rich people because the ultra rich don't get taxed past a certain amount of money. All the rest of that money they get tax free. Is that fair? No. Does that have to do with certain politicians? Yes. Messing with the IRS? Yes. So basically, it comes down to that, you know, I would make a better president and I have better ideas for this country. I've grown up, I'm a farmer, beekeeper, and, you know, climate issues are really happening. The planet is warming up, but it's due to greenhouse gases. Now, if we cut those by a good percent, you know, we can make this world better. Okay, grow some more trees and stuff like that. And the other thing too is instead of using like trees for paper and toilet paper, there's a resource out there that is renewable. It grows quicker, it grows faster, and it can be farmed, and that's bamboo. Bamboo grows faster, so you can make paper products out of it. You can make toilet paper. You can make your paper plates. You can make your paper towels. All this out of bamboo. It's a fastest growing renewable resource for paper. The other thing that you can make paper out of is what they make rope out of, hemp. Um, that they make rope out of hemp. You can make paper out of hemp. You can make paper out of you know there's other plants that you can actually make paper out of. There's places tinkering with that, but it's the poultice. That's what makes the paper. I mean, you make paper out of cotton. What do you think money is made out of? Cotton. Do you know that? The paper that makes your money is made out of cotton, and the little fibers that are in there, that's cotton. Yeah, so your dollar bills, your bills that are in your wallet, are made out of cotton. It's done and it's made into a paper. Okay, that's why there's those fabric, little strings in there and stuff like that, because it's basically made out of cotton. Um, you know, and the thing is you got all these other politicians out there, BSing. Basically, it comes down to this. Okay, one, you know, you were talking about border safety. Well, building a wall along the border isn't going to keep anything safe. If they want to get through, they're going to get through. It's just how it is. We're supposed to learn from history. We're not supposed to repeat it. And people want to tear down all these things, like all these statues of people in these different states. You know, like, yeah, they did some awful stuff during their time, but there's reasons their statutes are there. Some of those people did good stuff, some of them they did bad stuff. But the reason they're there is to show what we do not do in the future. We learn from the BS they did and we move forward. We learn from the past. We don't repeat the past. The point of history, the point of teaching it properly in schools, and oh yeah, all this BS about, oh, we shouldn't teach our kids this or teach our kids that or teach how slavery became about. Do you realize that slavery came about with black people selling their own kind into slavery? It wasn't the white man; it was black people that sold their own race into slavery from Africa. But slavery has been around since the biblical days. Every race has been a slave. You know, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians. Even whites have been slaves to other whites. Slavery has happened in all the things. Um, but we have to learn from the past, not redo it, not repeat it. Everybody has equal rights. Everybody should have equal rights. And it's alienating people, you know, alienating people is not a good thing to do. That's all Trump was doing his whole presidency when he said, "Oh, I'm going to build this wall. I'm going to," or his whole campaign, "I'm going to make Mexico pay for this stupid wall." Did Mexico ever pay for that wall? No. Trump took money from the military. Trump took money from various programs, the CDC, all these places he took money from to build this stupid wall. Does the wall work? No. If people want to get through it, they'll find a way through it. They'll find a way through it. They'll blow it up. They'll, you know, do whatever they can to get through that wall. They'll bulldoze it over from the other side. I mean, walls don't work. It's a way to alienate your neighbors. If you want to have a good country and be a very good country of the worldwide, do you know what the biggest thing you have to do? To be a friend. Be a proper neighbor. They're having issues with drugs down there in Mexico. You know, you talk to the Mexican president and you say, "Hey, what can we do to help your country alleviate this war on drugs? You know, how do we get, all these people to stop doing drugs?" I mean, seriously. You know, drugs kill people. There's certain things that harm people and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is that I'm a beekeeper. I'm a farmer. Okay, I grew up on land. I want to try to get more land so I can actually get back to farming and beekeeping better than things right now. But the fact is I feel that I would be better president of the United States. I also feel that if I have to start, oh, smaller than president of the United States, maybe governor of Washington, I'd make a good governor too. But either way, I think I could work better in being president of the United States. Fix this country, fix all this stuff, you know, do stuff to help students better for schooling, you know. Do you realize that certain countries, like Sweden, they have a phenomenal healthcare system. Okay. And the way it works is that the people that work there, working 8% of their money that goes for taxes pays for their health care. So basically, their tax funds, go towards healthcare. So if we make it to where a percentage of tax revenue goes to help people with their healthcare, people would be more willing to work certain jobs and stuff like that. If they knew that every job they were going to have good health care. Okay. I mean, if you don't have health insurance, and then you got these insurance companies that don't want to pay very much, and they leave some of their clients to pay a whole lot out of pocket that they don't have. Why don't we make it to where you have two types of insurance? Okay. You can have a government insurance in which covers the part that your regular insurance doesn't. That way you don't have to cover these big hospital bills. Anything that keeps you alive, keeps you safe, keeps you. The other thing, is that, we really need to fix this country. Stop tolerating hate, because Trump spread hate. He really did. And he still does. He still spreads hate. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. I mean, we need to change this whole system. We need to make everything more equal. We need to make the pay gap that's between men and women not be there. We need to make the pay gap that's between various races not there anymore. We need to cut all that stuff out. Everybody needs to be paid equally. Okay? Equal pay, equal rights. This is country. Do you realize that America is a melting pot? Okay. That's why America was created. America was created on fundamentals that we are a society that has the right to believe what we want to believe. Stuff like that. So we need to have a person that understands that when you vote for a president, that the president works for the people. Okay. So, and the other thing is that, the First Lady of the United States, you realize that she doesn't make any money, that she'll get a stipend after office. She only gets money after her husband was president for the rest of life, and it's only $20,000. Now, if he dies, she can't remarry before the age of 60 in order to still get the $20,000 stipend. Now, I'm sorry, but if it wasn't for some women, certain men would not make good presidents. Okay, certain women would not make good presidents either. Okay, that's right. Now we have the one vice president. She's okay. I don't know much about her. It's not. But the thing is we need to make this country better. All these people, neo-Nazi BS is BS. Okay, those people, I'm sorry, but they need to quit spreading hate. Okay. My personal aspect is, this country is free, you have freedom of speech, but there are limitations on freedom of speech. Okay. When your speech is derogatory, that's not freedom of speech. That's being mean. And there's no need to be mean. I mean, you guys, wars were fought. We fought a war against England to be a separate nation. Okay. Now, yeah, Canada still worships the Queen and King and all that jazz. Okay. You know, and it's good to have, you know, good relationships with all these countries. Now, now you have one country out there, which is Russia, who invaded Ukraine. Now, the reason Putin invaded Ukraine is because of the fact that Trump was his puppet. You guys didn't know this. Putin wants Trump in office, so he can do whatever he wants. The reason Putin invaded Ukraine is because he was mad because Trump lost the election. So he's like, fine, I'm gonna invade this other country and see how many friends Ukraine has. Da, da, da. Okay. The point is if you want to be a proper global world, all these wars and crap need to end. Whether it's in Syria, whether it's in, you know, South Africa, or any of these other places. Okay. They're calling Africa a third world country, or these other places third world countries. Okay. We live in one world, and so how can they be a third world country when they live in the same world we do? We only have one planet that we live on, and there's not different worlds inside that planet. It's not like Earth has different little mini worlds in it. Okay. I mean, people live in their own little world certain times, but that's inside their head, not physically outside in society. Um, it just comes down to the fact that, you know, I would make things better for women, for families. I'd end all that stupid trafficking and BS, because you realize that some politicians are in on the sex trafficking. You do realize that, right? Trump was part of it, and who knows what other people and Republicans are part of it. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene might be part of it because she seems to be kissing Trump's butt way too much. You know, I mean, she kisses that guy's butt way too much. Than her wanting to do stuff in Biden saying, "Oh, I won't vote for any more money to run the government unless we start just bullshit stuff on BS on Biden." Okay, whatever took place back in 2015, 2017, or 2015, while his father was vice president, if anything like that took place, it should have been dealt with at that time. Okay. Stuff should have been put together at that time, not um, while Joe Biden's in office. Okay. So you get the difference there. You deal with something if it's happening at that time. You don't use it as a political thing and say, "Oh, this is political, this is political." Or Trump's being politically going after it's a political. No, it's not. If you read the indictment, every person in that indictment, they're all Republicans persecuting Trump. Every single one of them. It has nothing to do with the Democrats or Biden or the Biden administration. Think about that. Okay. Now, my stuff on policies and stuff like that, A, would be to make equal pay for everybody, raise the minimum wage to a proper living wage. Get that through your heads, all you corporations. Okay. I know some corporations are paying a proper living wage for people. Others still don't. The federal minimum wage needs to be raised. I don't care what Democrat, what Republican, you guys are all wrong, and your little corporate sponsored buddies need to quit saying, "Oh, we don't have the money to pay for this." If you have the billions of dollars that you're making off of gasoline, okay, do you realize that the oil companies make all these billions of dollars off of gasoline? Do you know that you could cap gas prices all across the country at no more than $1.75 in every state? Okay, $1.75 per gallon in every state of the union, in all 50 states, Hawaii, Alaska, every single state. You could cap it at $1.75 a gallon. Okay, cap oil prices. The oil you buy to put in the cars. Cap the prices of that at no more than $2.50 a quart. Okay, so if you're doing it $2.50 a quart of oil, okay, and you're doing $1.75 a gallon gas, okay, think about this, okay, if you have all that, you realize that the oil companies are still making billions of dollars. Okay, still making billions of dollars pure profit after all their overhead is done. Okay, so if you have, what is it, 100 million people in USA? So there's 100 million people driving a car. 100 million people driving a car. And let's say the average gas tank is 10 gallons. How many people times 1.75 gallon. Equals. You get $175 million. Okay, that. Okay. Now, if you have a quart of oil, which is $2.65 a quart, one time by a quart times, let's say 100 million. That's 265 million. Yeah, $265 million. Okay, that they're making off of those. Okay. Now, if this is, and this is, let's say, one day. Okay. Let's say 100,000 people in one day filling out their tanks, whatever, per gallon. Okay. And so the average is 10 gallons. So you've got 1.75 times 10. That's 1750 times 100 million people. That's $1,750,000,000. Okay. So in one day, you have 100 million people filling up on gas, an average thing of 10 gallons of gas. You're making $1,750,000,000 in that day. Okay. That means you're making bank. So the average car takes 3 quarts of oil. Say 2.65 times 3. That's 795 times 100 million people. That's it. How many people drive cars? Okay. You're making 795 million in that day. Okay. So plus 1 7 That's $2,545,000,000 between those. Okay, and let's say that's a day. So now you times that in a month. Okay, for 30 days. Okay, so in a 30-day period, 100 million people are doing this stuff. You're making $76 trillion, $76,350,000,000. So the oil companies are making bank, 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 bank. Okay, so you can cap prices on oil products, on gasoline, at these particular numbers. Okay, you take taxes off of those numbers. Okay, and you divide a percentage of that. Let's say 15%. Okay, so you got that big number. You get the big number. Times 15%. So of that, okay, $11 trillion, 11,452,500,000. That money gets divided up by divided by 50 states. So equals, you're going to divide by 50 states. Okay. So every state would get 229,050,000. Okay. For their roads and other stuff like that. Okay. So you think about that. Okay. The oil company has to pay the government this much money. Okay. The government then divides that up by all 50 states. So every state gets $229 million. Okay, for their roads and stuff like that. Okay. Then the states divided up by the number of counties. So let's say there's 10 counties. So each county gets $22.9 million. Okay. Per county. Okay. So $22.9 million per county. If you do things properly, you can fix all those bad roads out there and stuff like that. So there's enough money out there to do things right if everything is done right. Furthermore, if the big oil companies really want tax breaks, certain tax breaks, then they would take a percentage of their huge profits, okay, and give back to communities, give back to the farmers, give back to all the people that work their butts off to make sure that you can eat your food. Okay, yes. Number one thing, the other thing too, as president, I would do is one, we need to clean up our food supply. Do you realize that of all the countries in America, of all the countries in the world, America has the biggest amount of people that are overweight? It has to do with what the FDA is allowing to be put into our food. Okay, so I asked President to revamp the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, for one, because we need to take one thing, well, two things, but one major thing out of ban it altogether, and that is high fructose corn syrup. Okay, that needs to be banned altogether because it makes you fat. Okay, the other things that make you fat is all this invert sugars that they put in the stuff. All this additional sugars. If you already have regular sugar in the product, you don't need corn syrup. You don't need high fructose corn syrup. You don't need uh, brown rice syrup. You don't need barley syrup or any of these other syrups. Okay? You don't need that much sugar. Okay, Do you realize the average man is only supposed to have 30 grams of sugar a day? Okay. If we kept our sugar input to that low a day, we managed that, we would be the thinnest, the healthiest country in the world if we cut out this high fructose corn syrup stuff. Get that out of our diet. Um, take out take out nitrates and nitrites out of our food, except for what naturally occurs in like sea salt or celery salt. Okay, except for what naturally occurs in those, which is very tiny amounts. Okay. Um, so basically, we do uncured meat, but but, but see, uncured means there's no nitrates to preserve it, but it's still good meat because it's sea salt is there, celery salt is there. That preserves the meat. Okay, salt preserves. Okay, it just doesn't have the stuff that will basically rot your gut. Okay, and so we as Americans need to like our food, but we need to want healthy food. Okay, you know, and then of course we need to tax the pharmaceutical companies because they make way too much money and they make drugs cost too much. Okay, do you realize that if every American grew stuff in their backyard, okay, your percentage of the food they get in their backyard for seasonal food, okay, and you bought other stuff from the stores, you knew it was from local farmers, okay, that grew the stuff, not from other countries, but local farmers that grew your beans, carrots, tomatoes, onions, radishes, all this other stuff, okay, and you knew the farmer it came from, okay. Do you realize that America would be a lot more healthier and stuff like that? I know there's a lot of people that do these big old monocrops. But if we did stuff that wasn't mono, this or that, and genetically altered food, which is just like really wrong, you know. I mean, you want something healthy, you basically make sure that you're putting all the proper nutrients in that soil, okay, to make that food healthy and dense for your body, okay. So it's more of taking care of the earth because see here's the thing. We do stuff to take care of the earth. The earth gives us all the stuff that's properly done that will help us be healthy. Okay. There are weeds in your backyard. Okay, dandelions. Did you know that you can eat the leaves? You can do stuff with the roots. You can make stuff out of flowers. You can make wine out of flowers. You can make there's other stuff. You can eat the leaves in the salad. I mean, that's literally a whole edible plant. Okay, people call it a weed. Do you know what the definition of a weed is? Definition of a weed is a plant in a spot where you don't want it. That's the definition of a weed. So basically, there are no weeds per se out there. Definition of a weed is a plant in a spot, growing in a spot where you don't want it. That's all a weed is. Now, if you had a particular area in which you grew dandelions, okay, and used them, there's all these plants that have medicinal purposes that help your body, that help your breathing, that help all this stuff. Okay, there's plants that literally help you live a lot longer, healthier life. Like clear out all your arteries and all that stuff. You know, make you 10 times healthier. Okay. Do you realize that our great grandparents grew up in an era where a good percent were thin, healthy because of stuff that they knew from nature and healthy vegetables and stuff like that. You know, nowadays you got so many chemicals that are produced and to put in the food to preserve the food longer, have longer shelf lives and stuff like that. And the problem with that, the longer something sits on a shelf, depending on what's in it, do you really want that preservative in your body? I mean, come on. We need to fix the Food and Drug Administration. We need to fix all that stuff. We need to ban high fructose corn syrup from any food product. If it already has sugar in it, why would you use high fructose corn syrup? Do you realize it takes a chemical to make the high fructose corn syrup out of corn? Okay. If you ever watched the show King Corn, this guy shows you that it takes this chemical in corn to make the high fructose corn syrup. That chemical goes in your body, okay, and it hijacks your hormones, okay, causes all sorts of issues with your hormones. But it is even 10 times worse on women and females because not only does it hijack their hormones, but it can cause infertility with females. High fructose corn syrup, because the chemical in which makes the high fructose corn syrup can really hurt a female's body. Okay. So if we want to be a healthier nation, a better world, a better country, one in which other countries look up to on a better note, you guys need me in there as president of the United States. Because one, I will talk to every single person on either side of the aisle and say, look, think about this. Think about your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, and further offspring of your lines. Okay. Do you want them in a world in which, that we only want taught what we want taught? You don't teach them the 100% truth about things, you know, and that, it says in the dollar bill, it says, in God we trust. Okay, on the dollar bill, on quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, all that stuff. It says, in God we trust. Okay, so if we all trust in God as a nation, okay, wouldn't you think that if we all trusted in God in our nation, truly trusted and believed in the Lord above, that we would actually probably help our neighbors, love our neighbors as ourselves, be kind to one another, and you can completely eradicate hate in this world? It's one of the things is, you know, all these people in these different ideologies. Okay, do you realize that internally we are all the same? Doesn't matter the color of our skin. Okay, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever our skin color is, you know, light to dark, light pigment, brown pigment, creamy pigment, white pigment. Um, you know, Skin color is just that. It's just skin color. Does that color really make the person, or does the person's personality make the person? Does the person's how they hold themselves, how they hear them, how they talk, how they say things? Okay, you know, I mean, come on. And then of course you got this whole debate over births of children and all these, banning abortion and stuff like that. Okay. Do you realize that the only reason a woman should ever be getting an abortion is if it's medically necessary? Okay. Medically necessary. It means that she has an ectopic pregnancy where the baby is developing in a fallopian tube. Okay. That child has to be aborted. Otherwise, they'll kill her and it kills the baby automatically because the baby has no room to grow. And then it takes out the woman. Okay. If the baby that is developing in the womb has some completely thing where it's, let's say, in certain cases, doesn't have a brain, are you going to make a woman carry that child knowing it's practically dead inside her body the full 9 months when her doctor is showing that there's no activity, that there's no brain in that child? Or the child dies in utero because of some issue, that some medical issue it had internally? Are you really going to make the mother carry that child to 9 months when the pregnancy is practically over anyways because that child had died in the womb? If you want that woman to live and be healthy and have healthy kids, you have to take care of the child that's died inside the woman. Get into the world, let them bury the baby. Don't make the woman suffer. That's basically making women be oppressed. Women have fought long and hard to be equal citizens, equal rights, equal voting, equal all this. Okay, women should be equal pay. Heck, the first lady should get paid for her time in her supporting her husband in office as he's president. I mean, he's making $400,000 a year. She should make at least half of that. Okay, for the stuff she has to do. She should make $200,000 a year. And once once they're out of office and they have Secret Service and stuff like that. But the fact is, then the president gets $208,000 a year. Okay. The first lady would get $100,000 a year. So them as a household would get $300,000 a year for the rest of their lives. But the first ladies really do have a right to have a better thing than just a $20,000 pension a year. I mean, come on. Do you realize that this country would not be great if it wasn't for the women behind the men? Don't you know that women do so much behind the scenes? They raise, most of them raise the kids. They help take care of the husband stuff. They help do this and that. Some women are probably better CEOs than men. Okay, I'm not saying that certain women would be good presidents. Just certain ones. But they'd have to have certain qualities to be a president. Certain qualities and certain notions of how to have peace and how to bring peace. Because that's what ultimately we want. We want world peace. We want peace in this country. We want all the killings to stop. Because you realize that there's been more killings since Trump had taken office back in 2016, and even after Trump's been out of office, because all the hate he spreads, all these groups and all these people that support Trump, they're just keeping hate going. If we're going to be a better country and a better world and show a better example in the world, shouldn't we eradicate the hate in this country, eradicate all this disgust and be kind to one another? I mean, do you realize that stuff would go so much smoother in this country if we were just kind to each other. You know, I'm pretty sure, if there was equal stuff, and oh yeah, here's the biggest thing we need to work on as a country. I mean, it's not just this country. Every country has to work on this particular thing, and that is housing. Okay, we need to make better housing for all. Okay, I know there's tons of people that die, and there's tons of people that this, but we need to make it housing accessible for everybody. Okay, if you look at all this stuff too, that the average price of gas in 1930 was 10 cents a gallon. If you figure inflation and stuff like that to this day in 2023, do you realize that it should only be $1.73 a gallon? $1.73 a gallon is what it should be, not this $3, $4, $5 a gallon of gas. Diesel fuel, whenever that came into play, it should be maybe about 50 cents higher, just because of additives they have to put in diesel fuel. That's about it. That's the only reason. So if you take and you cut the prices down to $2 a gallon for diesel, $1.75 a gallon for regular gas. Okay, and so $1.75, $1.85, $1.95. So no more than $1.95 for your high supreme gasoline. Okay, so you go regular unleaded $1.75, premium unleaded, premium, and supreme. Okay, whatever. So no more than $1.95. So just under $2 for your supreme gasoline. And then of course you have your diesel fuel, which would be no more than $2 a gallon because of the additives that are in it. So if you have all that going, okay, and you do all these numbers, and you do stuff to more help farmers and all this, do you realize that this country, we could be healthier, smarter, better? We have the technology to be a better country. We have the technology to be better people. And we have YouTube, we have all this technology out there, okay? Span the globe with it. Okay. But the thing is you're not going to span the globe if you know, don't do stuff properly with what we have. Okay. And when you have, the wildfires and stuff like that, and people wanting to blame states for reasons they have wildfires. Oh, like Trump blamed California. Well, if California would manage their forests, this would not happen. They would not have all these wildfires. Do you know that half the wildfires that have happened are either A, man caused, B, the forests are being taken care of as best they can within what resources they have. Now, if he, as the president at the time, would have decided to give more money to California and say, hey, this is what you're going to do as far as your forestry goes, and how are you going to do that? You're going to take care of it. You're going to cut down all the underbrush. Okay, you're going to take out any sickly trees. You're going to, create a better canopy. You're going to do these particular things to aid in the proper forestation and the proper way to prevent fires. Okay. Now, if there's A, B, and C, D are in place, okay, then the other thing we can do as a country to where we have less homes lost in wildfires, okay, because we have the technology to do it, okay, is if we take and we put not only metal roofing on houses, okay, because all these asphalt house roofs, little tiny spark, like this big, little ember, like it's big, land on the roof. Okay. That little ember is gonna burn through and it's gonna cause a big old fire because what do we have on roofs? Tar paper. What does tar do? It burns and really fast. It goes, okay, catches and just burns exponentially. Okay. So if we take away that thing, okay, then we put metal roofing on houses, proper insulation, okay, that doesn't have any side effects towards people. And then we do proper forest management. We do sprinkler systems on the houses, on the inside the soffits, okay, and then like along the roof cap, okay. So basically, and then we have a little trigger, a little sensor on all the roofs, okay. So we have that. So what happens is if there's a hint of a forest fire, everybody that has that system on their house, it kicks on, sprinkles water all the way down and outside. Just waters around your entire house. And you have your sprinkler system hooked to that same device. Your sprinkler system kicks up, waters all the everything, gets the side of the house completely wet, the roof wet, everything wet. Okay, that house is gonna be saved. You do a border all along these lands, okay, of these rim completely. Do a thing where there's a water wall. Okay, smoke sensor trips this thing. You get this water just rushing down, and it's getting that ground wet. Okay, get the ground wet, that fire stops. Okay, so less houses can burn that way, less residents, less stuff. Okay, all that stuff can less likely burn. Okay, we do start planting more trees back into what areas of rainforests. Okay, every spot that's deforested because somebody wanted this. Well, we take care of the world. The world will take care of us. Okay, the storms will be less violent. The less greenhouse gas we produce, the less storms, the less flooding, and stuff like that. Whether it be, so, I'm not saying there's not gonna be storms, not gonna be hurricanes, stuff like that. But if the world oxygen gets proper balance and less heavy gases, and we can do stuff about the gases that hit near the ozone layer, okay, that gets trapped by these certain things. We take that stuff and lessen it, okay, then we as a society, as a world, can be a better world and a better society and a better country. But in order to do that innovation, these big conglomerate places have to realize that they put money forward to help this, to get rid of all greenhouse gases. There are alternative ways to make money, and there's alternative ways to run vehicles. Okay, cars can run off of lots of things, electric, know, solar power. Now, here's the thing. Okay, we have these electric cars that we're making. Okay, and you want to charge people electricity to plug in to charge up that battery. Okay, why, if we have the technology for people to do solar power, why would you not put that into the glass, into the rims of the car, into the solar, do a solar panel in a certain place like the trunk of the car, put like a solar panel like integrated into the trunk. Then you take that and you integrate it down into the battery. So as the sun is out, the person's driving, then you take the wills, because the will is considerable force, right? That force creates more power. You take that and you put it where it goes, you know, that thing puts stuff in the battery. So your whole car, your whole vehicle is running off of its own force and solar. See what I mean? So you can do all this stuff to create to where you could use that car as a way to power certain other stuff. Okay. So we have the technology to do all this stuff and to make this world a better place, to cut down on the CO2 that's in the atmosphere, to make more oxygen and all that stuff, so the world better breathing, because the trees are the lungs of the earth. The more trees we have, the better the earth breathes. The less carbon it sits out there, the less the world will heat up less because we get rid of more of that carbon. Okay, you see what I mean? CO2, we get rid of more of that and get more of it trapped in the areas like in the plant life. And we create these things where these things that take the CO2 and you convert it into something that goes into the soil. Okay, and plants pull that CO2 up. Um, then the world would be healthier. You know, so basically, it just comes down to the fact that you know we need to make this planet better. We need to make society better. We need to make the world better. And to do that, we have to be a country that has better standards. Erase the hate. I mean, seriously. And as part of my stuff for my presidential run, is my campaign stuff is to make the world, is to make this country better, to make equal pay for everybody. You know, I mean, seriously, everybody deserves equal pay, because the average stuff in back in 1930 was the people were making about $4,800 a year. Okay, if you do the rate of inflation, that's about $85,000 a year. Okay, that would be the average pay for anybody in an average job, 85,000 a year. This would be all across the country. Okay, though the average pay for some people is a lot less than that. So think about that. We're in a quiet depression because a good portion of people make even less than that. Okay, some people make less than 56,000 a year. Some people make less than 30,000 a year. Okay, you got people that have worked their entire lives, put into pensions and all that stuff, put in all this money. Okay, to end up having to live on this amount of stuff a month. Okay, for the rest of whatever their lives are. If we want to have people have longer lives, longer longevity, less issues, less cancers, less all that stuff, biggest thing we need to look at is our food supply. Okay, cut out 99% of the chemicals that is in it. Okay, two, we need to look at doing stuff more healthier, more exercise. Create stuff that gets people moving and stuff like that. More hobbies, better stuff. People actually talking to people. I mean, not just on these things. These things help stuff. Yes, they help communicate, stuff like that. But the biggest communication needs to be sitting down around a table talking. I mean, you've got to stop all this hate. And if we're gonna stop the trafficking that goes on with people, human trafficking per se, you know, only way we as a society and all around the world is going to stop that is we have to crack down on the stuff that we put out there as humans, okay, as human beings, okay. People say, "Oh, this disgusts me. This disgusts me." Well, if all this stuff dis- makes people disgusted, whether it's trafficking of human beings, no matter their age, it's usually from like a certain young age to a certain age. Okay, there is an age that they're trafficked, then they're put out to whatever. But in order to get that to where it stops, we have to watch what we're doing as a society, as what we're putting out there on, whether it's social media, whether it's television, movies, all of this stuff. You know, everything out there that we put out there, we need to stop doing certain things. We need to change how we do certain things. Okay. Um, I'm not saying you can't have ideas or you can't do certain stuff. It's just saying that maybe we need to look at how we're being as a people and decide, okay, we're gonna stop all that stuff. Okay, we're gonna stop this underworld of you know all this stuff because you realize that CPS was put there to protect children, but at the moment they're not protecting children. They get money from the federal government to take kids from homes. Okay, I mean and the only reason kids should be taken out of their home is they're being abused, neglected, whatever. Okay, then they should be taken out of that home. Okay, but if a person that had been abused as a child has children, the state has no business getting involved and making the assumption that that person had been in foster care can't take care of their own kids and take their kids, further perpetuating the cycle of human trafficking, using the courts, using this cap of we're doing it because we don't think you can take care of your child because you were taken away as a child and you were abused as a child, so you had to have done these things. Okay, do you see how wrong in a society, in that part of society that is, to tell a person that was abused as a child that if something goes wrong in their life, that because they were abused as a child, and somebody decides, oh, I don't like this, or this person did this teacher did this to me, but I can't get this teacher in trouble. So I'm going to blame the next person I can, and that's going to be this person that I ride the bus with. Okay. So if stuff like that is happening in society, because it happens all the time around the country, CPS does stuff and they drag a kid through the mud. Okay. From the time they're in foster care to from through their teen years, and they'll just drag them through the mud all through a good portion of their adult years to a certain point. Um, and that and all that is just human trafficking. It's a type of human trafficking. You're taking kids from a perfectly healthy family and putting it wherever you want just because you want your bucks from the federal government. Well, that needs to stop. See, CPS needs to be stopped. Okay, and me as president would stop all of this stuff with CPS. There'd be everything would be rewritten. Everything Hillary Clinton did would be taken off the books. She's the one that pressed the stuff through and had her husband sign into law to let CPS go rampant. Okay. Well, me as president, I would take those powers away from CPS. There'd be certain rules and regulations they have to follow. Certain laws in every state would be put. We'd make federal laws that if the state isn't following these federal laws when it comes to taking children out of a home, like that there has to be this criteria. The kid actually has to be being abused or neglected. Okay. If that child, if the parents have been in foster care, you have no right taking the child unless they're doing stuff to that child, unless stuff is being done to that child. Okay, you see what I mean? But none of that's happening to that kid. You don't take the kid out of the home. You understand? You don't take him out of the home. Period. So, so basically, my thing is that I want to correct all the wrongs in society. I want to correct all this stuff. You know, to Native American. Here's another thing. Okay, the only true Americans on this continent in the United States, that was in the 48 continental landmass states that are true Americans are the people in which we decided to take the land from. Okay, the Native Americans. They're the only true Native citizens of the USA. Okay, they're true Americans. Everybody else, ancestors, are all immigrants into this country. Okay, so we owe the Native Americans a lot of stuff because see when before certain decided to take the stuff, take all this land from these Native Americans and do all the stuff that we did to this culture, okay, of people that lived off the land, that knew how to take care of stuff and live in all the conditions over here in the U.S. You know, every citizen on this continent, except for the Native Americans, are all foreign. Are all, yeah, your grandparents, great grandparents, all came to this country. Uh, my great grandparent, up through a certain point, okay, came to this country. Okay. So I'm descendant from that line. Okay, and these are the ones that came over here to this country. Okay, but everybody in America, except for the people that are naturally born here before, you know, America was discovered, and people came over on the Mayflower to the United States, which was this country. Before that, you know, so basically we owe a lot to the Native Americans because when that time period happened, and people came over Mayflower, the one guy that was shown around, and they were shown, and they had the first Thanksgiving because if it wasn't for the Native Americans, none of us, none of that original line, people that came over, none of their grandchildren, great grandchildren, or any of that genetic line would even be here if it wasn't for the Native Americans. So, I mean, you have to think about this, people. Think. Okay, you gotta think really hard to the fact that the hate needs to stop. All this other stuff needs to stop. So we need to correct this stuff in this country. We need to end another topic in this country. Okay, we need to end food, end the problem with food. Get food and have food for your family. Because food insecurity that happens. Okay, um, a lot of food insecurity happens with certain families because they only make a certain amount of money, or you get a certain amount on food stamps. Okay, and you got all that stuff that people have to pay for, isn't it? So if you reduce amount of stuff going out. They made to it, they have more stuff for food, okay, in ways to grow food and stuff like that. If we create proper things, okay, encourage, like people doing greenhouses, encourage people to learn how to start canning certain things. Because before there was all these modern inventions, you know, glass is made out of sand. Okay, all these things are made from different minerals of the earth. Okay, so if we have the technology to do these things, to create all the stuff that we've created, okay, but how have we created all the stuff we have in this particular time period that we create that has happened? Well, somebody had to put that in the man person's head. Okay, and you as man, as ourselves, natural man, would not really be able to come up with some of the ideas that people come up with. Okay, computers, all this stuff was come up with by all these things were given, ideas were given to people by the Almighty Lord, King God. Okay, gives people different ideas and stuff like that. So these ideas on how to continue the world, how to modernize stuff, and this that. Otherwise, everyone would still be in certain areas and stuff like that, and everyone would still be having a really tough time on things. See what I mean? So, modern society, we as a modern society, need to realize what needs to be done. And um, so basically, it just comes down to the fact that A, we need to be a better society. B, me as president would help correct all these things that are wrong. We need to properly talk to all the nations of the world and say, hey, this conflict between you guys, whatever you believe, stop the conflict, stop the fighting, stop trying to take more land. You have your country. Russia has a lot of area of land, okay, if you look at it as a whole. Okay, the Soviet Union, you have all these little areas, okay. You have a lot of land already. Okay, you're probably about down there as big as the United States, okay. Then you have all these other smaller countries. Okay? And you have Africa. So all these smaller little things. And you have these other small countries. Okay. But the fact is people want to dictate stuff. We dictate all this stuff. The reason certain things work, okay, is I know there's been battles that have been going on for eons with different areas, but we need to stop all this stuff. We need to stop all the hate in the world. We need to stop all the BS. Okay. We need to get younger people in office that can come together as a whole and say, hey, this is what we need to do to fix society. Okay. We need to stop the big corporations from saying, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, blah, blah, blah. And the corporation should be saying, hey, how can we as a corporation, whether it's a media tech company or a billionaire or all these different high type people, okay, how can we as a tech company or how can we as a gas company or an oil company, all these different things, how can we help you help ourselves, help the whole United States as a whole? Because you know what? We all have to live in this country. Now we can all be equal and have all the stuff we want, the American dream, owning a home, owning land, not making anybody richer, you know, just owning everything, and having himself up. All right, because there's gonna be people are still gonna make money. Okay, but if we do things right, everybody can have a proper piece of the pie. Okay, and you got the top 1%. They're still going to be the top 1%, no matter how much stuff they do. Because if you have happier people here, and here, and here, and here, okay, all these levels, if you have a work, let's say you have a pyramid. Okay, let's say you have your pyramid. Okay, you have your people down here, real people up here, and then your people there. And you got your one little tiny 1% up here. Okay, but you guys know for this 1% to be where they are and to stay where they are, if they don't want to be troubled or sued multiple times or whatever, they need to be helping all this down here. Okay, so they need to be helping the middle class, the low class. Everybody needs to be helped. They need to help everybody. They need to stop saying, "How can I make more money? How can I keep making more and more money?" Okay. Now the people on Shark Tank, that show, I think it's okay, but here's the problem with some of those extremely rich people there. Like, okay, you write any of them, and you say you have this thing, you have this idea, you have an idea that would help society as a whole. They don't respond to you. Let's see, Maui burnt down, and you got The Rock and Oprah want to give stuff to Maui. I don't have any problem with helping Maui if I had the money to help them. Problem is, when you decide as a rich person to only help one state, and that's in the state of Hawaii, where you have family or different ties. Oprah owns a lot of land in Hawaii. Why does she need that much land in Hawaii? Why is she owning so much land in this spot where she don't even do going much there? Do you see what I mean? I'm a fan of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and I think he'd probably do good as president if he'd actually put his hat in as president this year instead of running in 28. He should run now. Okay, not 2028. And oh yeah, and under the Constitution, and this is for Arnold Schwarzenegger, who came to this country. He wasn't born here, but he's lived here his whole life. And under the United States Constitution, it says, okay, to be president, you have to be 35 years old, be a natural born citizen of the United States, be at least 35 years old, or have resided in the United States for 14 years. Okay, constitutional requirement of to be president of the United States. Candidates in the United States must meet basic requirements to learn about the run for president. The U.S. Constitution states that the president must be a natural born citizen of the United States, at least 35 years old, or have been a resident of the United States for 14 years. Okay, for 14 years. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger has been a part of the United States, in the United States, for more than 14 years. So I'm pretty sure he should be allowed to run for president of the United States. Anyone who meets these requirements can declare their candidacy for president. Once a candidate raises or spends more than $5,000 for their campaign, they must register with the Federal Election Commission. That includes naming a principal campaign committee to raise and spend campaign funds. Okay. Now I'm trying to figure out how to do a committee so I can raise my $5,000 so I can put my name in to run for president of the United States. Okay. So basically, it comes to the fact that, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger says, oh, I can't run for president because I wasn't born in this country. Well, he's a citizen of the United States. He's not a natural born citizen, but he's been in this country for more than 14 years. So he has every right to run for president of the United States. So, I mean, that is under constitutional to run for president. You have to A, either be a natural born citizen, at least 35 years old, or B, have been in this country for 14 years. It's right there in black and white. So for all those that have been in this country for 14 years or more, that are U.S. citizens, you know, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is a U.S. citizen. I mean, yeah, he's up there in age and stuff like that. He's pretty old. I mean, granted, he does not feel like running for president. He's been governor of California, stuff like that. But he could have ran for president of the United States